Panel discussion, playground from leadership perspective, safe to fail. So the moderator is our very own Denis Jajcevic, and I will let him introduce the participants since I'm one of the participants. It wasn't enough, to moderate, so... And I still have party to do tonight, so it's not...
And some dancing, right?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you all for coming. With us here, we have also Gordana from Nexi Croatia and Slovenia. She's a management board member. And with us, you also met Jonas. The last time was lead UX CX technologies at Datev. Welcome. So welcome to you all to our panel discussion about culture of play and play in a safe to fail environment. We'll discuss a bit about that. I don't know how many of you have heard about these acronyms or any of it, but while I was researching for this topic, I stumbled upon the first one, and thanks to Vedrana, I found out for Bunny and Rat. And it was very insightful. For those of you for brittle, anxious, nonlinear, and incomprehensible, those are the reactions to all of those situations we are all facing nowadays in this ever-changing world of technology and opportunities. So in order to be able to respond, dynamically respond, and to gain resilience in those situations, there's also RAT. It's resilience, attentiveness, adaptation, and transparency. Those are the key points. What should we use as a framework in order to make us life easier? So last QAD we discussed a lot about resilience, and today I hope that we'll discuss attentiveness, adaptation, and transparency with our guests here. So welcome again. So I'll first start with you, since you're all warmed up. What does the safe to fail mean for your organization?
All right, so for me and within my teams, safe to fail means creating an environment where mistakes are seen as chances for learning. And we heard that at this morning, for personal growth and also for progress. And I think key prerequisites for that, at least in my opinion, are confidence, transparency, communication, and also encouragement. And the thing is, if you listen closely, I use the word mistake instead of failure, and I use confidence instead of trust. And so I like to distinguish between mistakes and failure, because at least from my perspective, failure inherently, assumes some kind of causality, some kind of some kind of prior knowledge. And I think we want to avoid failure, but it's totally okay to do mistakes that just can occur due to increasing complexity in what Denis just explained in this VUCA, Barney, Red world. So that's one thing. So mistake over failure. And another thing is confidence over trust. And in this case, for me, confidence meaning like forming a strong belief that someone is capable of doing a certain task and also transporting that back to your employees. And I prefer confidence over trust because, at least for me, confidence incorporates that me as a leader, I also don't know how to do the task. So let's find out together, sitting at the same boat. That's basically how it's in my organization.
Yeah, and we talked a lot today about all of this stuff, like where organization that with leaders will recognize the opportunity and with confidence can lead that individual into creating something new, innovate, so to speak. Luca, we were talking before about this, and I remember you also mentioning transparency as a key.
Yeah, now Jonas took all the Pokemons, so there's nothing left for me to say, Kidding. So, we talked a lot in the last couple of days about this topic and the importance of this topic. So, Transparency, definitely. So, like putting everything on the table for starter is a great way to start in order to embrace a safe to fail or mistake culture. But I would like to add, and this is something which today, listening to all of the people, really sharing some interesting stories and inspirational ones. So I would say, I would add like the freedom of action. You know, you can have a freedom of speech, that's kind of, let's say, should be normal, but a freedom that you can initiate an action, that you can, you know, start something, then you can trigger something. I think that this type of atmosphere shows that we are on a good way in creating this type of safe to fail, and then maybe switching to safe to play at some point.
Like some kind of equality in the communication when everybody is free to free to share their ideas, right?
Yeah.
So, Gordana, the same question. What does the safe mean for your
So I
organization?
just wanted to say, first of all, where I come from. So I work for a company that is dealing with payment industry, with banks, our customers. So is it safe to fail? Not always. In some areas, absolutely. We stimulate, we embrace, we educate, we are transparent. However, in some areas, errors cannot be done. They cannot be done simultaneously, systematic, etc., etc., etc. So yes, in some areas we stimulate it, but not in all of the areas.
Nice. But on the safe side, we've talked about this because she was when we discussed this topic a lot. She was very afraid of talking. You know what business I'm in, and you know what safe to fail means in our organization. And I really we've discussed like disaster recovery, things like that. It's really tough to create a safe to fail environment in these kind of situations. But going to those things, but what challenges are we facing when trying to set up a safe to fail environment? Jonas, do you have any idea how to start, how to create those kind of environments?
Well, I think the biggest challenge at the moment, at least from my perspective, is like finding the right persons. That's actually a consequence from my previous answer to the first question. But it's more, I care more about the who and not so much about how. And as a consequence, I care about the result, but not that much about the procedure. And from an employee's perspective, this could also be a problem because not every type of employee likes cycling with me to this try again loop, try again. They're asking me questions, so what's next? What would you do? So I think some of us are familiar with that because some of you are also leading teams, some of you are just employees. So it's, I think this is the biggest challenge. So caring about who and not how. So, yeah.
So essentially matchmaking the teams,
Yeah.
creating an environment, yeah. What about you, Luca? Are there any ways, how do you think, or what challenges are you facing when setting up in my environment where I should work in, that it's safe for me to fail?
I think it's, on one hand, we're kind of talking about safe to fail, safe to play environments. On the other hand, we have like core business, which we do. So I think it's very important that all the team members across the organization get a broader understanding of the context that everybody are in, So let's understand first what stone are you carrying, what any other person in the team is carrying, other stones, etc., in order to create a safe. So that's one thing, understanding of the broader context, and then aligning these parallel worlds in which we live in. So we live in a world where we communicate to each other on a team level, on the organizational, internal level, then with our customers, etc., etc. So it's not an easy, I would say, thing to do for top management, especially when you have a market of new people coming in, new people who don't really have so much patience, you know. They want it fast, they have big expectations, which is great, which is cool, and you need to balance all these balls. So I would say it's like it's a complex environment, but first you need to calm it down, and you calm it down by introducing as much as possible information in order to have, let's say, a mutual understanding. And then take small steps, meaning small goals, step by step, and moving everybody one step at a time.
Yeah. What about you, Gordana? I think you have a great experience in that area.
I think one of the biggest challenges for us, and I'm talking from position where I am now, is basically the constant change of environment. We have changed how many owners? 3 in 6 years or 5. They bring different cultures, they bring different type of processes, and by the time you adjust to the processes and then you understand if they actually embrace safe to fail, then you change again the owner. So even though it's, you know, the thing is that they never change the processes enough. So some of the processes are kind of historically there, right? So if you have standardized elements in the environment within the company, then again you manage somehow to enable the people again to have a certain level of theirs in their job, right? So this is how we do it. But definitely the challenges are too much of change sometimes.
Too fast.
Too fast.
Even too fast, yeah. Okay. There's a nice fun fact. I don't know if it is fun, but it is interesting. But it's a fact.
It's fun for you, obviously.
From Thomas Edison, it's for me, regarding his tests into inventing a light bulb. Right? When he was asked because he had a lot of failures doing those experiments. What's his thought on this? Did he regret all of those tests that were failed? And he answered that I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that doesn't work. And I think that's a great segue to this question, where how can we find a workplace where failure is not viewed as a showstopper and just an opportunity to, like as a course correction, just is constantly learning from our mistakes?
Yes. So, I mean, as a former researcher and as a data scientist really by heart, making experiments, playing around, I think is somewhat like the soul of statistics, like also digging deep into the data. So I'm just used to experiment and I really like it. So for me, actually play, or the culture of play, makes safe to fail somewhat beautiful, if does that make sense, yeah? So I think it's at the end bringing together like the degree of freedom in actions and procedure, as Luca just mentioned before, and on the other hand also finding people who has employees and on the employee side who having also the willingness to play around. So you need that match, and or in the words of Sam from tomorrow, find people that value autonomy actually. So and then there's a good chance that significant progress can happen. If you call that now innovation or whatever, it doesn't matter, but at the end it's a significant kind of progress. And we should keep that in mind when we do any kinds of planning. This process is inherently inefficient. And I always have to smile when I met people telling me, yeah, my goals are being super efficient and at the same time super innovative. Maybe not.
I remember with me talking before with some kind of a play in those, again, really restricted environments, Gordana. And I remember that you said one really interesting thing, that when we play to win, right?
Yes.
Um,
Where is Krešimir? This is his saying. I stole.
oh, courtesy to Krish. Do you have anything to add? What do you think? How can we create that kind of environment?
Well, you have to have a goal. At the end of the day,
A goal, right?
yeah, you have to target something. You have to strive to do something. So it's okay to fail within the process of, as long as you know where you're going. So that's the whole idea. And then if we play and if we try, at least we need to win. So we try to be the best in what we are doing. So definitely, it's and when you have a team, it actually is much more easier not to be alone. So all of these elements are important.
Yeah, I remember just talking with colleagues, even Luca, and I think that we all agree on the stuff that it's great to, it's even more important to try, and one ball will hit the target, right? So Luca, I know that you are very much involved in innovation in that part. How we can create an environment where we are safe to fail when we try to innovate in that sense.
I think maybe one also thing, maybe just to try to demystify, when we talk about play and experimenting, etc., I think a lot of people kind of think that it's reserved for the ones who can take it like a separate part, and then there's a team there, they're playing around, they're creating something innovative, etc., That's cool, and that probably exists somewhere in some very rich, cool, big, large, extra large companies, and that's cool. But for the rest of us who are, let's say, in the market that we're in, we need to incorporate it somehow. Okay, you can have R&D, and that's cool, but it's limited, and it will never be that large how we would like it to be. So you need to incorporate somehow. And first of all, you start to create a good atmosphere in a small team, which you then use as a showcase, as a driver, in order to poke the bear, in order to see how the rest of the organization will react. And then you adapt, you learn, then you provoke, then you adapt, etc., etc. And this small team can be kind of specialized into introducing new behavior or introducing new product, new service, new feature, whatever. But I think the most important thing is that this team feels safe, and what we mentioned before. So they have good atmosphere because they will have challenges along the way. They are not a natural part of daily business, because daily business is business goals driven. It's not innovation driven. At least in let's say the majority of organizations that we're talking about here. If there is somebody from the organization who is purely innovation driven, raise your hand.
Nobody's daring.
Carlo left. Carlo was here,
Yeah.
hitting the drums.
Just to stay on this topic, my next question is that, okay, we know, all three of you know how to start, right? But you've mentioned also this kind of course correction, so you need to know what's right, or when you're wrong and when you're right. And that involves some kind of a measurement process, like we mentioned before. Developer productivity, can we measure it? No. Can we measure something? And how do we even measure that kind of success? If we succeeded into enabling a culture, establishing a culture of play in company?
Of course, depends on the state which we see as a to-be state, of course. But I would say that in general, you will see the difference in behavior. So if we have more and more initiatives, popping out, if we have correlating to what I said first. You know, people coming to you with new ideas, I don't know, willingness to, let's say, move things, willingness to be exposed, to go out of their comfort zones, etc. So I think that's let's say a very plastic evidence that that you're going in the right direction. Of course, there are standard people and culture evaluation forms which you can use, but in general, I think this is the best showcase. And if others start talking about it, so you know, but not in a bad way. So for me, it was great. We did also try to make some changes, and for me, it was great when a team member came and said, "I want to get out of my comfort zone." You know, so like I want to do this, and it means I will go out of my comfort zone. So for me, that's like, I don't know, top.
You succeeded, right?
Yeah. So that's.
Jonas, how do you tackle that?
I mean, nothing too crazy. I think at the end, if you want numbers, so usual KPIs should somewhat apply. Besides that, I'm just tracking the number of experiments, and especially those, then distinguish between those who led to that end basically, and the others where we came to just a better result due to experimenting. So with number of experiments.
It's a good way, objective way, both. Gordana, do you do some measurement?
How do you measure? We do the targets. We have bonuses. People stay at work. We have good teams. They cooperate a lot. There is a cooperation between different type of teams: tech, products, sales. So all of this cooperation. So it's basically it is very much on in the compactness of the environment. So how people behave, do they go out together after working hours, our friendship, etc., etc. So all this creates kind of an environment which is it seems like safe, but at the same time you have a big achievement. So and it creates a satisfied team. So that's why people stay.
Yeah, just to be able to be there for each other to back them up. Yeah. When someone fails, you pick them up.
Absolutely.
With the next interesting fact, while I was also studying this topic, I stumbled upon Amy Edmondson, professor of leadership at Harvard Business School, and she conducted a very interesting experiment where she ought to explore the correlation between number of mistakes made by a team and the quality of the team. And the results she got actually was unconventional. That she discovered that higher quality teams made more mistakes, not fewer. What do you Jonas think about that?
I answered as a statistician? No. So I would say if there is already a culture of mistake, safe to mistake, safe to fail implemented, then I think people are more likely to talk about their mistakes, make them more transparent. So that could be one explanation. And on the other hand, I think high quality teams tend to be maybe more senior, and maybe they value flexibility in the procedure just more, and finding maybe not just a way to do to do their task or to finish their job, but maybe a better or the best way. And within this process, where they're experimenting quite a lot, of course, just by chance, there's a higher mistake to produce a failure. I would go even further and switch from correlation to causality. I would hypothesize that maybe they are a higher quality team because they did more mistakes and learn more and grow more. So, yeah.
Yeah. Gordana.
They were not working in our industry for sure.
No job for them.
No job
Oh,
for you.
absolutely.
No job
Can
for
you
you.
imagine how many if we make mistakes, what the banks are gonna say? No, so jokes aside, anyway. So yeah, of
public
course, I mean, the more you work, the more mistakes you do, obviously, no? So
Yeah.
I mean, the probability is higher that you will make mistakes. So for sure, I mean, probably there is a correlation because the amount of work you do, it's probably higher than the low quality teams, right? But I identify with this, but we are not going to do this in our company.
But we've discussed a lot of this from your area, your perspective. What's your opinion on if or are C-level people the only ones who can promote, like feel it, or drive the culture of play? Are there any other, can it go bottom up or some way around? Luca?
You are looking at me.
Did you see this?
Curveball.
Did you see this? It was like, you know, like
touched
Luka
upon it.
Modric with a
Yeah, with the right foot.
yeah. Wow. Okay. The question was no, sorry. Yes and no. So of course, so senior management needs to be the example of everything. Let's say, okay. So are they the drivers? Probably no. Are they the fine tuners or the ones who know kind of help over time? Yes, of course. So the research that you mentioned, over time, there's you have accumulated confidence, which comes from experience, which comes from expertise, etc. And I would expect that in every organization, top C-level management has this. And especially if you have an organization where they work in a synergy of their superpowers. Like, for example, Vieco on the opening panel said he's there to, help. Bring me the initiative, I will energize it in some way.
Recognize,
And then we have, for example, other team members on the C-level who are, let's say, specialized, like more focused in some other area, maybe curiosity, creativity, innovation, knowledge, etc., etc. So, and if they all work together, they, as Rosalind said, can lead by example all the other parts of the organization.
What do you think, Gordana?
I think this culture needs to be conveyed everywhere. So basically, top down, bottom up, whatever. So basically, it has to be really spread it in order to function. So it comes obviously from C-level, middle level management, and each and every person needs to embrace it. So it has to be all over.
Part of the culture, right?
Yeah.
Right. Really nice conclusion. Given your varied roles within your organization, where do you think, when do you suggest to begin with change towards to safe to fail environment, Jonas?
Well, at a personal level, start with yourself. It's easy. Man in the mirror. At an good quote, Michael Jackson.
Okay,
This was not planned.
At a team level, start by building confidence, I would say. And at the organizational level, watch out for patterns, blocking, establishing the culture of safe to fail. And I think this is important, watch out how your organization is incentivized.
I don't know what it's.
Are you looking at me now? Or?
No! You can go, look. Now you've raised your hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So where to start, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
question. So I think it definitely, yes, you can start from yourself and the team, etc. That's all good, but it needs to be in the agenda. So if it's not in the company's agenda, Jabe. I don't know the English word for this. It's not working, you know. So it needs to be in the company's agenda. So I was fortunate enough to, you know, participate in a couple of transformations where we implemented, let's say, where we tried to change the culture or help for better. But overall, it's always the same. If it's not in the agenda, it won't happen. You know, you can have 200 people take them on the next level, but if it's not the agenda, if nobody will cherish it enough, then it's maybe not worth doing it at that point in time. Maybe later, yes. So meaning, if everybody are very clear on why are we doing this, where does this fit, and are willing to support it, as we mentioned before, then I really don't see it's not a difficult, it's not a tough job to do it. On the other hand, if you don't have this small prerequisite, it's like a Sisyphus job.
Yeah. Goran, you're coming from a sales-driven organization, right?
I'm a salesperson.
Yeah.
Is it a sales-driven organization? Yes, it is.
Where would you start?
From the sales team. Nowhere else.
Go big.
No, really. I mean, you start with the team you have, and as Luca said, basically, it has to be embedded in the agenda of the corporation. Corporations often are not very risk-driven, right? There is always, if you make a mistake, there is a blame game, there is a competition, people will push you around. So this is typical corporation. And you know, the question is, you know, if you would like to work in such environment or not. I think in our organization, in our company, we embrace such approach for sure. But you start with, as a leader, you start with your team, and then this team spreads it around, obviously, no? So because sales needs to sell what the technology and the products are doing, right? If they don't produce, we don't have anything to sell. So if the sales is requesting, then they will push technology and product to actually kind of produce things. And this is how it starts. So from kind of, again, target, where is the goal, what we need to do, how we need to do it, right? Why we need to better, we have to be better, or we need to compete with other. So it has to be a little bit of competition as well.
And everybody involved in that process.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
No man is by themselves, right? How do you say it? Islands, whatever.
We're done with my questions. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, okay.
Now switch roles. Now switch roles.
Thank you, everybody. A round of applause.
For the guests also.
Thanks. So, do we have any questions? No? Coffee time. No? Okay. Robbie, you have a question?
We should go, right?
We can go home. Okay, Chris.
Yeah, so thank you for this very interesting talk. So I really loved everything of it. Really. No, but I have really a question, because I always also come from the banking sector. So to Gordana, you said there are some places where failures are not allowed or must not be made. Can you just somehow describe how are you assuring it? Because I know it.
How we are assuring it?
Yes.
So with a lot of processes and controls. Basically, you have to have first level, second level, third level control processes that needs to be well defined. In whatever situation we are, we have to know what to do at that particular moment. So you have to regulate, kind of, in order to be able to act on different type of possibilities which are negative, but so people will know how to behave. So it's all about processes and controls.
German approach. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. But the mistakes they should not be systematical. They should not be repeated. That's the most important.
Thank you. We have more questions.
more a comment than a question to the approach, like there are processes, and especially if you're not allowed to fail. It just came to my mind, I was on a speech, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, about psychological safety. And it was a very interesting point because it went in the same direction. And the guy studied some of the biggest, let's say, accidents happened in the world, like Chernobyl and this types of things. And what he figured out was like, yes, there have been these processes and there is this mentality, you are not allowed to fail. But the challenge is you have to, even in this mentality, you have to give the people psychological safety. If there is some fail, because there's maybe something wrong in the process, or if they experience something what is wrong, they should have at every stage the possibility and the safety to fail. Yes, it should not be the standard failing in such an environment, but if you're recognizing, like in Chernobyl, something is going wrong, you have to have the environment, the psychological safety of the teams, and the people can stay up and say, hey guys, something is going wrong here. And they should not be called down because they are not following the process. And I think that's a balance you have to get in the teams, like even if you're in an environment where you are not allowed to fail, you must be able to fail, if you get me right, you know. It should not be the standard in such an environment. No, you should not fail every day.
Yeah.
But I think this has to do with giving the safety to the people. So.
Thank you very much. You?
I have a quick one for Jonas. So I believe that there are a lot of companies which are cherishing, in general, safe to fail environment and safe to play. But I think also it's a buzzword in the last couple of years, and a lot of companies strive to go in that direction. And you were all talking a lot about how to start and how to ignite this environment. But what about maintaining it for long years within the company?
That's a super good question. I cannot talk for DATEV as an organization as a whole because it's just way too big, with all the different departments. But I can definitely tell something about my department, my two teams that are leading. I think it's constantly working on it. It's really hard work to do it. Always giving and transporting to your employees, I believe in you. I also don't know how to do it, but I have the confidence that you can do it, and I hired you for that. And if you fail, it's totally okay, but let's try out. I also don't know it. We're running through this try again loop. So, and also team buildings, it's really nice. So going out with the team, celebrate our success most of the time together with Cross. So yeah, it's hard work. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if this answers your question to your satisfaction, but yeah, so it's hard work.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. One more applause, please, for these people.
Into Luca.
Thank you.